course content which we are covering. We will be covering Spring Framework, Spring Boot, microservices, including Advanced Java and Hibernate, and some tools also will be covered during workshop sessions. But during regular sessions, we will be focusing on complete Spring content. Okay. So what you can achieve end of the day means you can able to build any enterprise or any web or microservice based applications. You will be getting full hands-on experience post these sessions. For sure, you will be getting end-to-end knowledge. Okay. So the only expectations from you is you should have as a prerequisite core Java knowledge you should have. Okay. And basic, coding skills, if you have, that is sufficient. Okay. Remaining everything we'll be discussing here. Now directly, jumping into MVC. Okay. So anything I'll start with MVC so that easily you can correlate with your application development, where and how it is, fitting. So any applications which we build, right, following MVC architecture only we build, model view controller architecture, either it is a web application or a enterprise or a microservice. Okay, so we follow typical MVC architecture only for any application. Okay, it can be a web or enterprise or a microservice based application. So as per MVC, we will be having 3 layers: presentation, we can call view. As part of MVC, V stands for view and C stands for controller. And M stands for model. Okay, so presentation for web application, let's say if you take technologies like servlets, from servlets web application journey we started, right? So for presentation layer, we will use technology like HTML, JSP, right? Or you can use frameworks like Angular. Angular, again, it will include HTML, JS, it will use CSS, and you can use any JavaScript frameworks including Angular or React. Okay, so you can use anything, right? Any mobile UI also you can have mobile UI like Android or iPhone. So let it be anything. Okay, presentation layer. For controller part, presentation layer will have forms, all the front end related stuff here. Let's say a simple registration form if we have here. So the form related fields you will be having here. With buttons. So once you click submit, the data need to be submitted to controller. Controller is the first one who receives the data. So it will read And then from here it will send it to model layer. So all the read operations, validate operations, validations, you can take care here. If any security, right, you can apply that security also here. So once this is passed, the data will go to model layer. So as part of model layer only, we will do business operations and database operations. Let's say if this view is calculator, if you want to sum a plus b, if you are submitting a value and b value, and if you want to sum it, subtraction or addition or division, something if you want to calculate, consider this is a calculator. Once you submit your data, a plus b, it will read your data. And to do business calculations, right, whatever business operations you have, additions, multiplications, divisions, subtractions, whatever calculations related code, we put in business layer, or you can call service. Business logic or service logic we put here. So all that stuff we execute. Yeah. Then once business operations done, we will send the data to repository or DAO layer. So it will be inserting your data into database. So finally, your data will be stored into DB tables. Okay, this is how a typical MVC flow used to happen. We will have presentation part for, end user interactions. Whoever wants to interact with your application, they will access your front end. Via front end, we give forms to pass user inputs. So this user will pass inputs to the front end. He will be giving his inputs here. Then when you submit data, it will go to controller. It will do all the read, validation, security operations. Then we forward this data to business. It will do all the calculation stuff, business logic. And once business logic is done, if you want to save your data or to do these business operations, if you want to select some data, to do all that CRUD operations, it helps here. All CRUD operations, create, retrieve, update, delete, any CRUD operation you can handle from repository layer. So finally, it takes care of all database operations. Now, coming to controller, right? We understand to design views, HTML, JSP, Angular, React, any mobile technology you can use. Coming to controllers, in Java, we have servlets and JSPs. For controller side, you can use filters, you can use servlets, JSPs, filters, anything you can use for controller. So this is part of your J2W, okay? So this classes helps you to read data which is coming from web, from browser. If you submit something that we can read by using help of servlets or JSPs or filters. On top of the servlets, JSPs, filters, frameworks also came early 2000s, right? One of its great framework is Struts, Apache Struts 1x, 2x frameworks. 1x is famous. So Struts 1x and 2x frameworks and JSF. These all are frameworks. The JSF framework came. There are many. In Java, if you refer right, on top of servlet, so many frameworks designed. Out of which, these are famous frameworks, Struts, JSF, then Spring MVC came and it started rolling this. Spring MVC, then now we are using Spring Boot concepts. Again, you can call MVC only, but advanced technology Spring Boot is. So you can use any one of these to design your controller. To design your controller, you can go with servlets, which is part of J2EE, or you can use struts 1x, 2x, but struts 1x is not there in the market now. So Apache discontinued this framework. They announced the end of life in 2015 itself. So they are not providing any support. Still, the libraries are available. You can use if you want. Then 2x frameworks also. 2x also came. So these all are not strong as Spring. So many applications, most of the applications, 99.99, I mean almost 100% applications going in Spring MVC only. But if there is any old application which is already there, right, for maintenance, it is already designed in early 2000s. If it is in struts, still it is continuing. If they have budget, they are also, converting from struts to Spring only. Okay, so any one of this technology you can use for controller layer. Any doubts so far? And coming to business logics, plain core logic should be enough. Okay, core Java logic should be enough for doing, small algorithms only, plus and minus. For all such operations, your core Java logic should be enough. Apart from that, if you want to apply some logs in your business, when the request came, when the request completed, log for J. Of course, we apply this throughout the application. But if you want strictly put some logs in your business layer, when this business logic executed, what exceptions came, if you want to log everything, at least in business layer, you should log. Transactions, if you want to apply, when you are interacting with more than one table or more than one DAO at a time. So you need to apply transactions to maintain consistency in your data. Okay. And any services, let's say once after completion with your transaction, if you want to send mails, SMS, all that integrations we do from business layer only. And if you are talking with any other application, right, maybe by using REST or by using, SOAP or by using RPC calls, you may talk from here. You may talk from your business code only. Okay, apart from this, in Spring, to integrate the services, right, to make this services integration easy, AOP concept given, Spring transactions. Here you can apply, instead of plain transactions, transaction module also, they made it simple. So you can use Spring transactions and Spring mail API also given. Okay. For REST and SOAP related operations, Spring we can use. In Spring Web itself, we have this support, but consider we have Spring support here and Spring AOP, aspect oriented programming. Okay, all that we can use throughout the business layer. And coming to this DAO, for DAO technologies for doing CRUD operations, since beginning we know JDBC. Using JDBC, we can have CRUD operations. On top of JDBC, some frameworks came like Hibernate, JPA. These are ORM frameworks. Hibernate or JPA, MyBatis. Okay, I used almost these 3 ORMs. And on top of this JDBC, Spring introduced one module, Spring JDBC, to simplify Spring operations. Spring JDBC, and to integrate with all these frameworks, right? ORM frameworks. Spring ORM given. They simplified ORM also. ORM itself simple. Again, they simplified it in Spring ORM. Still, they went one more step ahead and they given Spring Data JPA, which is very advanced. So in this case, right, even no logic we are writing. Everything it is writing itself. Just you need to specify your repository with entity. Means your bean. You need to say this is my bean. So for your bean, it will prepare all CRUD operations itself. So that much advanced Spring Data JPA module also given. So finally, from Spring, what we are going to learn is, for controller part, we will be learning Spring MVC, and to control transactions and all Spring transactions, Spring Mail API we can see, and using Spring Spring Boot, we will be seeing how to handle REST, SOAP and all, and we will be seeing Spring AOP, Spring JDBC, Spring ORM, and here to handle security, Spring Security also I can mention here, Spring Security. And in advanced level, Spring Boot, we will see Spring Data JPA. All these modules we have in Spring Boot also, okay? But they simplified everything. Spring itself simple, they simplified it more. So without putting much, logic, right? It will handle everything. Just you need to focus on the business area only. Controller, most of the controller logic and repository logic, Spring will handle. Only the business operations, whichever required for your business, right? All that algorithms you need to write here, plus, minus, and all deductions. Okay. So all these modules we will be covering in Spring Boot also. And to run any of Spring API class, right, we need Spring IOC module, or you can say Spring Core module. So Spring Core module is very, very important, because to run any class, right, controller class which is designed using MVC and security, or transactions, mail APIs, anything, or JDBC ORM, anything. If you design your class in Spring framework, right, to run your class, you need IOC module. Without IOC module, we can't run them, because IOC module is having containers. So using that containers only, we can able to run it. Containers given as part of IOC only. So these containers will help you to run all the classes.
But containers is out of syllabus, right?
No, we'll be covering.
Will be covered.
Yeah, we'll be covering. We start with containers only. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that is the plan. Why I wanted to go with MVC means, any application we follow the similar architecture. This is the first architecture everybody should aware. Okay, as per MVC, we'll be having presentation controller and model layer, and again model layer will be divided into 2. One is service and one is DAO. Okay, so view is for presentation, for the front end user access or end user access. Once we transfer data from front end to controller, controller will do read, validation, security operations. Okay, so if everything is fine, then it will take it forward to business layer. So business layer will do all the calculations here. Let's say if you are doing fund transfer, business layer responsibilities, first it need to check your balance is enough to transfer or not. That checking need to happen here. So if it is sufficient, then it need to initiate the transfer. Then it need to update your balance again. So all that calculation stuff we handle from the business. And then once everything is done, it will give response back. Meanwhile, to do CRUD operations, right, to retrieve your data or to update your data, it will use DAO help. Okay. So to design this complete end-to-end layer, which technologies you should aware means for front end, HTML with any JavaScript is sufficient. Okay, nowadays we are doing Spring Boot, microservice based applications. They're mostly front end applications designing happening in Angular or React or mobile UIs. Then once the data submitted from presentation, will be receiving data at REST controller end. Instead of plain controllers, we are having REST controllers here. So again, if it is a REST or normal controller, responsibility is same. It will be reading your data. If any validations required, it will validate your data, then it will take it forward. So here, Spring MVC module helps a lot for the controller. Then from the business side, Spring transactions, AOP, and miscellaneous, so many APIs we have against from Spring. Based on our requirement, we can pick them. And to handle database operations, Spring Data JPA. End of the day, which is the important module for us is, if you go with Spring Boot, Spring Data JPA for DAO layer and Spring Boot for controller part. And AOP, everything given as part of Spring Boot. They simplified it actually, right? Everything they simplified as part of Boot API. And few microservices patterns we should learn. I mean, we should habituate if you want to move towards microservices, right? Same application only, like how we design in MVC. Similarly, we implement microservice based application only, but few patterns we should follow. That's it. Otherwise, coding practice, everything is same. Yeah. So first, from where we will start means the topic one is core module only, because without this, you don't know how to run Spring classes. Okay. So first few days we'll be focusing on core module only. Once done with this core module, we'll be doing Spring JDBC as a second module. Then we will do Spring ORM. Then Spring AOP. And we can cover these transactions during after ORM. Okay. Spring transactions and Spring MVC security. This is the pattern that we should follow for learning and understanding also. Okay. So first we'll learn container, then from backend, very, beginning from the backend. Okay. So database part we will understand, and AOP importance and transactions we'll be learning here. Then we'll jump into controller part, so that we can able to do examples in MVC end-to-end examples we can able to do during MVC. And in Spring Boot, we'll be covering lot of advanced concepts. Okay, it will be covering again end-to-end MVC. So are you guys clear with the pattern? Okay.
Yes. So what will be the database we are covering here?
You can use any database. I'll practically use Arkle here. And yeah, I have multiple. MySQL also I'll connect and show you. And if possible, we'll be showing you one NoSQL DB also. Mongo.
Okay.
Okay, if there is any example, right, required, I'll give it on Mongo during Spring Data JPA, right? One NoSQL database also I'll show you, because
Okay.
for many applications which is having JSON data structure, they are using MongoDB or GraphDB. Okay,
Right.
I'll
Right.
show that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, this is the pattern. So the same, right? If you visit this, the same practice we have here. So we'll be doing from very beginning, from core container, J2EE container, then dependency injection. From very basic concepts to advanced level we move, so that you will be not having any gap. Okay, so this is where we start first. Spring core containers. Why I should know core containers or Spring containers first means, without these containers, I don't know how to launch these classes. Without Tomcat, can you able to run servlets? If you know servlets, you can relate it to it. We need to have Tomcat or some other web container to run your servlet classes. Otherwise, you can't run them. Same way, to run all these classes, you need a container. This is like a server. Without the server, you can't run them. And is they given it as a special software like .exe file do I need to install means? No. This core containers IOC module given as a jar file. Container also Java class here. A simple Java class. Simple class only. Just you need to create object for that class wherever you need. Then when you start this class means, when you create object for this particular class means you are starting a container. Okay. So we will be starting with this containers concept first. Okay, we'll be starting with containers. So these containers are from Spring Core module. Okay, Spring Core module, or you can say Spring Core jar file. There is a core jar file and a Spring context module. We call it as Spring context jar. So in this core module, we have core container. The name of the core container is Bean Factory. And we have J2EE container as part of Spring context. We call it as application context. These two are the containers. And in Spring Web, we have one more container. We call it as web container. Web application context. So first, let us focus on these two only. This container anyway, built-in container. If you understand the behavior of application context, that is sufficient you to understand what is a web application context. Okay, both are similar, but it given to handle web request. Okay, we will be realizing it. So first we will be seeing Bean Factory and application context, these two containers. Okay. So what is the use of this container, especially in Spring means? In Spring, we follow simple principle, okay, while designing your classes. As part of MVC, we will be starting from controller, right? Controller and model. And we will be having business classes or service classes, our DAO classes. Apart from these two, you will be having separate classes like services, mail services, SMS services. So here, everything, this is controller, okay? Controller, business, or DAO or repository. or some services or utils, you can say. Mailing utils or logging utils. So during implementation of these classes, right, all here we will be writing Java classes. For presentation, we know that is not part of Java. Okay. So from here our Java journey will start, right? Java classes we need to write. Controller classes, business, DAO, utility classes. And your entities also. Bean classes we will be writing, right? Some beans also we will write. Beans or DTOs. Data transfer objects. So here, all these classes are POSO classes in Spring. Okay. We will follow simple POSO practice only. We will be not going to complicate our class. We will be writing it as a simple POSO class. Okay, not a complex Java class. Every class is a simple POSO. Every class will be like a simple POSO class, which means it is not going to extend any library. Plain Java class. Yeah.
POSO means?
Plain old Java object. Plain Java class. In simple words, this is a POSO. Class hello is a POSO class. Okay. Which is having simple properties, which you implement as a plain class, which is not having any dependency.
Okay.
Okay. Like a bird. Bird can fly anywhere. It can go anywhere. It can eat anything which it want. But if you put that bird in a cage, it cannot go anywhere, right? Means we are trying to, binding it with some dependencies. So it cannot move anywhere if you put lock. So POSO class is like a free bird, plain Java class. So in future, if you want to do changes or if you want to apply some new features, it will accept. But if you put something or if you restrict something, in future, if you want to do changes, it won't support you. So why plain model they taken here is plain model approach to make your application flexible for the future modifications and maintenance. Okay. So when you go with this POSO type approach, right, it is easy to maintain, easy maintenance of your application, and as part of maintenance, a lot of things, right? Easy to maintain, easy to modify. Yeah, all this you can say as part of maintenance only, and easy to integrate. Lot of benefits. So controller class can be a simple POSO class, which means you need not to extend any library or you need not to implement any library. You need not to make your class dependency of other libraries. Okay, you can make your class as a plain Java class. Okay, we'll be seeing very in depth of these concepts. Okay, just consider any class can be a POSO. For controller, business, DAO, or whatever you write. Write a simple plain Java class, all features it will pass, whatever you need. Okay, we'll be seeing more in depth later. Okay, so all these POSO classes, whatever you write, right, for controller, business, DAO, in Spring, what we do, we'll be starting from Spring Core module, right? So in initial days, we used to configure them in a Spring XML file. So the controller POSO, let's say if it is A, controller POSO, B, business POSO, and D, DAO POSO, and some services we are writing, right? Services POSO. All our POSOs we used to configure here. There are some tags. In the tags, we used to configure these classes. So all my classes are there in this XML file. And you need not to hard code any object. DO object you need not to create in business. Business object you need not to create in controller. Generally, we used to create objects to transfer data from controller to business. If you want to send data, this object you should create here. And from business to DO, if you want to send data, DO object you need to create here. But no object creation, take it into your hand. You should not create any object. Let's leave it to IOC. So once you load this XML into your IOC container, right? I said 3 containers, right? Bean factory or application context or web application context. Anything. Once you load your XML file into any of this container, right? Any of this container, immediately they will start creating object for A, B, C, D, whatever you have. A, B, D, S. All your classes objects will be created. Where general objects will create whatever framework, whatever technology, object will be resides in JVM only. So in JVM, it will create your objects. So once after object creation is done, to make flow happen, right? From here to here and here to here, if you want to continue the flow, this object need to integrate with this object need to integrate with this object, and these objects need to integrate with this object. How we will integrate them? Here objects created, right? Who created? Your containers created. Apart from creation of objects, these objects also will be injected one into another based on your requirement. So your containers will take care of object creation of POSOs and dependency injection. Object it is created, right? So already object it is created, the same object it will pass to you. First thing it will create object, next thing it will do dependency injection. So that object will be available for you. Now A can make a call to B because B object reference is available inside A. Then B can call another class. If you have some class C, it can call it. If you have some class D, C can call D. This is how the flow will happen. When between objects to objects communication will happen, once that object is available, if A wants to talk with B, B object should available here. If B want to talk with C, C object should available here. If C want to talk with D, D object should available here. So once after objects creation is done by your IOC, right, it will pass each object into another based on your requirement. We call it as dependency injection. These two are the main important concepts for, to understand you how Spring works. So once you understand these concepts, right, it's easy for you to do anything, to pick any other module. Not only that too, we have so many other advanced concepts of dependency injection, auto wiring concepts we have. Apart from that, life cycle concepts we have. Okay, so there are a lot of concepts. Okay, we'll be seeing them. But typically, this is how, in Spring we code it. Earlier, you might code it in a different way by extending servlets or by implementing servlets. You might implemented your controller or by using.
Hi, sir. Naveen, sir.
Yes.
Sir, which topics are covered by microservices?
In microservices, we are going to cover all the microservice concepts. Hello?
Sir.
Yeah, basically in microservices, REST concepts. Okay.
Okay.
To handle this load balancing and all Eureka concepts.
Okay.
Okay. And we will be seeing cloud config concepts. There are so many cloud concepts. So all that cloud concepts.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is how we generally follow in Spring, right? We implement most of the classes, or all of these classes as a POSO classes. I'll tell you why POSOs. Okay, so then we configure all that POSOs in XML file and we load it into container. Then container used to create objects. So if objects help is required in another object, right? Using dependency injection concept, it will inject them. If you're not talking, go on mute. Okay. Yeah. So typically using dependency injection, it will inject objects into another object. So then when end user calls via form, right? When he calls end of the day, object is the place where your code executes, right? So front user, when request from view, then the data will be submitted to your controller class. From here, the flow will go like this. Okay, tomorrow we will see, we'll start with first example. Okay, then we will slowly jump into dependency injection and other concepts. Okay, are we guys clear so far? Any doubts?
Unclear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Others?
Yeah, clear, sir.
Clear.
Great. So from
Yeah,
tomorrow,
yes, sir. Thank you.
yeah, from tomorrow, practically we'll put the sessions. Okay, I'll be doing all these examples one by one, and I'll explain each concept more in depth, and we'll be going into it. Okay, we'll be talking about containers in depth tomorrow. Before containers, I'll be showing you how to create objects during runtime, and you will be understanding how this containers also doing the same stuff. Okay, then dependency injection concepts. Tomorrow you can expect this session. Okay, containers. Okay.
So from like a Spring Boot, so from the software download and NetBeans, those software also we have to download, or you are
I'll share that links. Okay, which softwares you need to download. But if you want to do it right away, let's note down. You need to have JDK first. Okay, have JDK 8 or above. Just Google it, you will find the link. Or let me do that for you. Okay, I downloaded it from Arkil website itself. JDK 1.8 download. Archive downloads. Yeah, here it is available. Why GRE? JDK, right? JDK is available here. So Windows, right? Windows 64 or 32. You can download anything. For Windows 64, download this one.
Yeah.
So this is JDK link. And once JDK you are done, to practice Spring, right? To practice Spring, download these jar files. Here, the first download. Okay. You have anyway this link, right? Download these jars.
Yeah.
Libraries here. Okay. Yeah, apart from that, Eclipse you need, right? So latest
We can also use
STS.
IG.
we can also use IntelliJ, right?
IntelliJ also you can use. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can
Which
download.
which one should we follow?
So for time being, I'll go with Eclipse. Later we'll be using STS. Okay. Yeah. So once done with this, you can use IntelliJ also. IntelliJ also same. Giving a lot of more than this Eclipse and this Lot of tools available there, built in they given. So you can download IntelliJ also if you want. I hope I should have. No. Yeah, we'll be doing in Eclipse and STS. Okay. You can download STS also, Spring Tool Suite.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all for today. Okay. So, as we thought, right, tomorrow we'll be discussing containers. Okay. We'll be discussing more in depth about containers. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So, did you guys join WhatsApp group link? Yeah, let me share it again.